Hi, this is the day 29 Daily Spark question, and it says, what assumptions do I hold about autonomy that dissolve when I look closely at co-regulation? What assumptions do I hold about autonomy that dissolve when I look closely at co-regulation? Okay, we've got to break down the words. Autonomy, I think, to me is that it's kind of a form of independence. I'm moving through the world independently, but not the kind that says it's not without regard for other people, but it's like I am the captain of my ship. It's like self-governing, self-motivating, in some sense. But it's like I have the ability, the wherewithal to navigate my ship. I don't know how else to say it. So autonomy. And then co-regulation I think about a lot because of what I do with somatic experiencing. So I'm kind of trained in that aspect. I mean, it's not like a training in how to co-regulate. It's more like a practice of like noticing what my own nervous system's doing and how to regulate my own nervous system in the presence of others, especially those who are hoping for some regulation of their own. And then we're doing that together. So it's very much like when I'm sitting with somebody, and this is in a work sense, so like we're doing somatic experiencing together, it's very much checking in, we call it, like checking in the midst of doing the work with a client and saying like, okay, no, I feel regulated. Or if I don't, then saying, hey, being very forthright about that and saying what I need in order to regulate in that moment so that we can co-regulate. So I might have to say, I haven't had to do this yet, but not to this degree, but there have been other subtle ways of like slowing us down. But you could say, hey, I'm noticing something in me when you're telling this story, or wherever we are in the practice. And then, do you mind if we take a moment? Do you mind if we slow down? So co-regulation, I think, honors both, no matter what role we're playing. And definitely with friends, family, all of that, I don't know a lot of us that talk about or even think about co-regulation. We're just like, with family especially, it feels like just getting like those old, like when we get triggered into those old patterns because we have certain roles we play with family that are old conditioning. So what assumptions do I hold about autonomy? So that self-governing, navigating my own ship that dissolve when I look closely at co-regulation. I'm always trying to really love thinking about co-regulation. So to me, this idea of autonomy, which is like me as the captain, like moving through the world, I still have regard for others, but it's like it's kind of like my world. It's like my hopes, dreams, desires are like on the front burner, perhaps. I don't know. So how might all of that dissolve when I'm with someone else? Well, it may not entirely dissolve. Well, I guess my assumptions would dissolve. So my assumption is like my perspective is the one driving the ship. Well, in co-regulation, I think that assumption kind of dissolves a little bit because it's almost like I'm still the captain of my ship. I'm also honoring that they are definitely the captain of their ship. I'm not doing anything for them other than like holding the space, meaning making sure, like, not making sure, but like this is safe space. Anything is allowed here. So that's my job. And then I feel like we almost create, like, I'm regulating, they're regulating, co regulating, almost feels like we're creating this shared experience, shared space where there's like almost like a vulnerability, maybe, that I may not feel when I'm just being the autonomous, like, self in my own ship. you know I can definitely be vulnerable with myself, but I don't, maybe my assumption about autonomy is like that's I'm independent. Well, when you're co-regulating, there is sort of like a dance. There's almost like a dependency, maybe. I wouldn't have used that word before now, but uh there's that. I call it a dance because it's like I'm going to make sure, check in and see if I'm regulated. Definitely watching for others. I keep thinking in a work sense because I actually do this work in somatic experiencing. So I'm trying to, okay, let's step out of work mode and put myself with like family. I feel like every day I've been with my family, so I sense it a lot of like the making sure we're okay. And that's a different kind of thing than co-regulation. But first, like there's still that, or is everybody okay? Like, I feel like still I'm playing that role, even though I'm trying to break free from that. And in that, sometimes I've noticed some dysregulation, and then I'm like, okay, come back, because I feel like the people in this room might benefit from my being regulated. So it feels like it's almost like it is a dance. It almost feels like generosity to check in and make sure there's co-regulation for the benefit of the whole, because co could mean two or more people in a room. That if somebody's dysregulated but doesn't really have the awareness, maybe, or the capacity to regulate, I feel like the whoever has that ability or awareness or capacity, it's like generous to kind of focus on that. And I don't know what focus means other than like saying, what is causing the dysregulation? Is it something like that can be objectively like controlled? Is there a loud noise? Is there, that you could actually influence? Or is it solely within the person? And then the generosity could be like, I'm here. It's okay. Whatever is going on is allowed. Not trying to fix, definitely not trying to fix. And so there's that, the autonomy piece feels like a little bit of that dissolves, because it's almost like the generosity of spirit goes toward the other, as long as you also feel, because co-regulation means you're regulated too. So it's not just like, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm terrible. But are you okay? It's not that. It's like, put your oxygen mask on first, right? And then save the other people. But we're not saving, we're not fixing, but focus on the other person. Because if you try to like focus on someone else's their ability to regulate, and you're just a mess in here, that is no good. So yeah, so that autonomy piece is like, I'm the captain. I always have an oxygen mask, and it's always going on first, and that's the end of it. I don't have to think about anybody else. But then co-regulation is like, okay, I'm going to put on my mask and then make sure we're all good. What a weird analogy. So the assumption that autonomy means complete independence totally dissolves. If that were an assumption, it's not my assumption, but let's just say I think that's what it's pointing to. It's like autonomy meaning totally independent, not connected or influenced by or controlled by any other thing or person. And then it totally kind of dissolves when you are with the other, when you're co-regulating, creating that third safe, calm space together. it is totally dependent, because I may regulate myself, and then something that's happening within them, because we're all empathetic creatures, we feel each other. If I'm feeling what's happening within them, and then it starts, and then I let myself, oh, I'm getting dysregulated, then it's like, okay, let's acknowledge it first. That goes a long way to helping regulation, co-regulation. Acknowledging, you don't have to accept it yet, but you can acknowledge it, and then acceptance can come, and then maybe some regulation, calm, peace, safe space. So those are the thoughts that are coming up about this assumption of the autonomy. Would be the assumption maybe of independence is what's coming to me. That totally dissolves when you're co-regulating. Because if you remain independent, not influenced by, then it's like you're putting up a wall, maybe being the stoic and being the I don't know, being like untouchable. But in co-regulation, it's like it's a dance. It's touchable. You are able to be touched by each other, because it's like our nervous systems are talking to each other. There's not a wall between them. We're actually creating a third space between us that is like all about intermingling, dancing. So that's what's coming up for this. What about you?